All right, so this morning what I'm going to do is I'm going to more or less just kind of review everything. There's not going to be a ton of new material, but I do want to, since we've had a few days to let everything kind of marinate in our head, we're going to go back and just kind of review everything pretty quick. My goal is to be finished here by like 10:30 or so, which means I'm going to go decently fast, but I do want to be interrupted every other second in case there's anything at all that you don't feel comfortable with right away. And I don't expect to lecture in the afternoon. We're going to do something called Beyond Tech, and we'll talk more about that at 1:30. Cool. So first concept that I kind of wanted to go over is Git and GitHub. I know that like we started using it, at least the workflow seems to go pretty well for most people now. But I want to ask, what is the difference between Git and GitHub? Well, first things first, what is Git?
It's a management system for a software, so you can edit whatever without affecting or to track different multiple people's edits of a single program.
Cool. I like that. I like that. What else?
Version control.
It's version. What does that mean? That's like
so you can, as you commit, you're like adding different versions of. So you can commit at certain levels. You can see like where this thing has progressed from.
Yeah.
And, like you can jump back to certain places if you need to.
Okay, I like that too. And anybody else? No? Okay. All right. So Git is that it's a version control software, which means that if you've ever think of Microsoft Word when you were typing papers in high school or college or something like that. What's up, James? When you save it once, it overrides everything in the past. When you're like, man, I wish I could go all the way back to like maybe day 3 out of day 5. Exactly. So version control is basically like the concept of I can control many different versions and jump back to any one of those like versions at any given time. Something that we may use on a daily basis that people don't even know is Google Sheets. If you ever use like the Google suite of products, basically what happens is Google has excellent version control. They might use Git, I don't really know. But essentially what happens is, like this is our curriculum calendar. It's been updated for a long time. But I'm able to actually see all the changes that have ever happened. And this automatically saves. This is an example of version control. So if I ever wanted to see what it first looked like when I first entered when I first started like doing stuff for Code Platoon, I can jump back to November 6th of 2016 and take a look. This is the version that this is the very first one that we saved. And this is the great part about version control. It's like we can kind of see how things have evolved over the course of we can see how things have evolved over the course of time. And if we ever like anything ever blows up, we can go back to that point in time. So you can kind of see like, oh wow, there's quite a few changes for quite a while. Okay. So, and I also have the ability to restore this version. So if I wanted to say like, yesterday's version, 3 days ago on September 11th, like this is no good. Let's go back all the way to the beginning. Let's start over. I have the ability to do that. What is GitHub in that case? Anyone?
GitHub.
Yeah. What is GitHub?
It's like the storage.
Yeah, it's like Google Drive has a way for you to access all of those versions and for other people to come in and touch them, see them, manipulate them, whatever.
Okay.
I see like almost like a user interface for Git, more pleasing experience.
I suppose.
Rather than being in the command line and pulling stuff.
So
you can actually see the changes in code format versus this.
GitHub is an online, like it's a company, first of all. They just took advantage of the name Git and put it inside their company name. But it's a place where you can store all your Git repositories. So again, Git is just the software. GitHub is where you store it online. It's kind of like an online Dropbox, more or less.
It's got nothing to do with the software.
What's that? It's built on Git, and it basically creates a visual representation of all your files and like all the commits, and you can see it a little bit more easily. So let's say if I went into somebody Platoon.
It's not run by the same people.
It's not run by the same people. They just share the name, but it's not run by the same people. So I can go inside of linear search, and I can see all the commits in what's called the GUI interface, graphical user interface. I can click around. I can see, oh, Kara added something 29 days ago. What did she add? And then you can see this is the commit with the specific ID, and I can go through everything.
So companies like Facebook, they're obviously messing around with Git, but they're uploading into probably their own internal like GitHub-like thing.
It's possible,
so
yeah.
Nobody else is able to go in, or it's not on some remote cloud. It's on their system. I mean,
they very well could be running things through GitHub. We don't know. Again, that's their vendors are going to be they're not going to tell anybody who their vendors are. But I'm just saying that GitHub is not the only online Git vendor to host all of your stuff for you. There's another one called Bitbucket. They still charge money. They still make money though. So Atlassian is a large Australian software company that makes this type of software. So there's another one called Bitbucket. There's another one called GitLab. GitLab is I think it is one of those freemium kind of services. Freemium means that it's free to use, but if you want to get really anything remotely really useful, then you're going to have to start paying for it. GitLab is open source though. So if you support them, you're also supporting open source software. It's kind of closed source software is like Adobe Photoshop. You're never going to see the source code. You always have to pay for it. Microsoft Word is closed source software, whereas something like GitLab or Ruby on Rails is all open source. All the source code is available for millions of people to see.
Is there somebody that vets the code before they actually integrate it into the operating system or the code base?
Yeah, and we'll get to that. Let me just write that. Vetting code. Okay, so back to GitHub. So GitHub is pretty social. People, when you start applying for jobs and you start looking elsewhere, GitHub, they're going to go to your GitHub and they're going to basically see who is this person, what kinds of code do they have, and things of that nature. And they're basically going to make sure you have a face shot of actually you and not whatever not you it is. And then basically what they're looking for is where have they contributed. So you'll see that I have a lot of green on here. This is basically saying I did stuff on GitHub on these days. I have a longer history than anyone else, so I can go back at different years. I can see that I didn't really do anything between September and December of 2014. 2015, was a big year when I got a new job in May. 2016 was pretty much all year, and then 2017, same thing, pretty much all year. They're looking for these types of green. So.
So in ours, we have all that pre-work stuff. I see the pin repositories.
Yep.
Is there a way to organize?
Yep. It says right here. It says
so all
customize
the stuff or the pre-work isn't in the top or actual projects.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea actually. You can customize your pinned repository. So it's
Pinning just means it keeps it.
Yeah, pinning means
top,
yeah.
So that's a headline.
It's kind of, you remember MySpace, your top 8 friends? No? Okay.
I get the point.
Yeah. It's
it's only because I don't have 8 friends. But.
Okay.
If you create a group invite on Facebook, you can pin a message to the top. Okay. So on the feed, everyone sees it at the top.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So this is what people see when they visit externally. They see a face, they have a little bit of an intro, where do I work, with the city that I'm in, and these are the pinned repositories that I think demonstrate my work the best. I have the public curriculum that I've written stuff in Ruby and React for Operation Code, and then I have a group project from way back when.
Operation Code's another. What's Operation Code again?
We signed up for Operation Code, remember?
What was that?
Rod, you want to talk about Operation Code real quick? They signed up for it.
Sorry,
what is Operation Code?
What is Operation Code?
Yeah.
Sure. So Operation Code is a nonprofit that actually started around the same time we did. Their mission is, broadly speaking, veterans and technology. Very narrowly, they started out because the guy who founded it, David Molina, wanted to go to a coding boot camp on the Jago and found out that that's not an option. that's their agenda, push that forward, but brought that they become sort of a central meeting place for veterans who want to get into tech or who are in tech, mostly on the development side. So we work with them a fair amount in terms of messaging, where a good endpoint for people that come through them. We actually get quite a few referrals coming into that channel, but it's also their Slack channels are a great place to go talk tech, whether very nitty gritty, detailed oriented, like I can't understand, why this one particular component of my repository isn't can't pull it up, or just broadly speaking, like transitioning and trying to figure out how to do X, Y, and Z. So, so we try to make sure that our members, our grads, know about operation code, and like we think it's just a good community to be involved with.
Is this Chicago-based or nationwide?
No, it's nationwide. They actually don't have a very strong presence. We're going to start doing some meetups that are sponsored by us, but that OC will also sort of co-sponsor and help people with that.
Okay, cool. They start in San Francisco, I'm assuming, or?
I think Denver is where they started.
Denver.
Get back to that later. So it's a little bit. Yeah, go ahead.
So, is it bad to have all that pre-work stuff in our repository? Because it's like it shows up like a long list of stuff,
Yeah.
and I feel like the only stuff that I probably would keep on there was like the tic-tac-toe one and the little game that we made.
That's not a bad idea. Yeah. So learn automatically does a lot of this Git stuff for you. It pushed. You just had to press a button that pushed, right? We're not doing that anymore, mostly because most developers have to use the command line pretty often. If you want to start pruning your this is basically like your online life, I suppose. You can kind of think of it as what would you want to show on your Twitter? What would you want to show on your Facebook? And similarly, what would you want to show here on your GitHub? So pin the repositories that you think are great for right now. Obviously, this is going to change as we go through this bootcamp and as you start to build stuff on your own. But start following your friends. It's your followers is basically how popular you are or something like that, but just follow everyone here and then have them follow you as well. I only have 9 followers because nobody likes me. Hint, hint, follow me on GitHub. But essentially what they're going to do is they're going to look down here and see, like, is this person active on GitHub, right? So when people come and they see my public facing profile, even they can click on any specific day and they can see more or less like, what did this person do? If it's to a private repository, like all the Code Platoon stuff is, and then obviously they can't see it. It says 6 contributions in private repositories. Or this day was big for me. I did 71 contributions. I must have been doing something with Code Platoon things. But essentially, that's what they're looking for. So if I jump to somebody's profile right now, I'm just picking on Peter because his is easy to find. Peter, I need a name, right?
Yeah.
Probably need a name, probably maybe a little bit of a description about you. And yeah, there's a lot of these kind of public repositories that are all like, I've done bootcamp prep stuff, which is not bad because that's where you're at right now. But as you get more and more involved with this, you might want to start pruning things down a little bit. Yeah, there's pinned ones. I put pinned in the front so that I can change those as I like. And yeah, Peter has some contributions already. You can kind of see like 7 contributions here. And that's why we're having people fork. Because every time that you fork something, you get credit for it. If you were to push something up and I don't merge it, you don't get any credit. So it looks like during the time you were here, you did no code. That's why we're doing that fork. Speaking of forks, let's take a look at a few things. So where is code? Delta Platoon. All right, let's take a look at linear search. So what's the difference between fork and clone?
Forking is putting it to your section of GitHub, and cloning it is taking it right from wherever it is.
Yeah, pretty much. So when I fork something, if I fork it into my own username, it basically says, I'm going to make a copy of this as it stands right now, and instead of pointing towards Delta Platoon, which is where it came from, I'm actually putting it onto my own user. So you can kind of see that I have jyoung217/linear search, not Delta Platoon/linear search. All right. So this is kind of like a nice little sandbox area where I don't have to worry about blowing up the original one. And this is generally what most people want you to do. So fork it over, it's no longer pointing towards like where you could really do any damage. It's pointing towards a photocopied version. That's why you saw that little photocopy machine just before. And now I'm going to clone it down into my machine.
So you can't, or can you work on a cloned version? I'm sorry, a forked version that's not cloned? Is it not accessible?
Well, let's break down that question a little bit. So I forked it over. How am I supposed to work on this if I don't clone it?
Well, that's what I'm asking.
Oh, it's, yeah, you have to, well, you have to clone it. You have to, once you fork it, you have to clone it into your machine in order to work on it. Like I can't really work on it from here.
But if you were starting off from the command line in Git, using Git,
Yep.
you can fork it over and work it, or you still have to get a clone to get it.
Yeah, you still have to, no matter what, you have to clone it down
Yep.
to your machine.
That makes sense.
All right, so I'm going to CD into my desktop and list everything out. This is what I expect. I clone using which Git command?
Git clone.
Git clone, and then that link that comes with it. I clone it down. I CD into linear search. We didn't go over this on the first day, which I kind of want to go over now. All right, so if I have this whiteboard here, this is base. Why do you think using Git and GitHub is useful, I suppose? Both. Let's say Git.
Well, I mean, you have to be able to save it, and then you can go forwards, backwards in time.
Okay, what else?
And so we don't mess up the master.
You don't mess up the master. That is true. What else?
So good for workflow control, where you can like give people certain parts, and then someone can control what gets implemented.
Yeah, that's the. I mean, yes, we've covered those other two suggestions, but we haven't really talked about branching too much. The concept of Git, like Git, really revolutionized version control inside of companies when they came up with the concept of what's called disposable branches. And what that means is, if I have 50 people working on one product, if everyone's working on master, you kind of start seeing, like, you've already started seeing merge conflicts where I update something and then it's like, oh, I have to like download all of those changes into my thing. Now imagine that times 50 or times 100 or times 1,000. The purpose of, like, it's just going to be a complete disaster, right? On top of that, what if you have people not working all in the same area? Let's say you have some developers in Czechoslovakia, or you have some people in India or some people in China. It's going to be an issue, especially when you have, like, when you scale up to thousands of people working on one thing. So they have something called branching. So you can kind of see master is an arbitrary name, but for most places it's going to be master. That's like kind of like the point of truth. Like, this is absolute truth. This is what we're deploying onto the internet and things of that nature. Let's say that I have John and Taylor. They want to work on two different things. Let's say that Taylor has to work on the login and John has to work on credit card payments or something like that. So what they do is basically they will clone everything down as expected, and then they'll do what's called branching, which basically means that I have Taylor over here who's doing login.
And this is taking, so like Chase has something they've already done. They've already created a program. We're just trying to make it better. So It's like a system that's already been out there. We're bringing it down to our system so we can make it better, change it, update it, whatever.
It could be already built for you, or you might just be building it outright. Like what's called greenfield projects. It's like brand new. I'd have to build it.
But then we're not pulling from like a master or anything like that. We're just starting from scratch.
You are, no matter what, you have to start somewhere. So even if it's like just running the command to get like the basics off the ground, you still have to start somewhere. So you all have one specific place to start.
So you like create a master file on GitHub that says something, and there's nothing in it. But you're going to take it down, even though there's nothing in it, and then start building from there.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
So let's say Taylor starts and he's at login, and this is currently where we're at. Like, master is right here. He starts working on things, and then all of a sudden he's like, you know what? At this point, I think I'm finished. I think I want to merge all of my changes here. So again, he starts right at the beginning. Like, let's say it's day one, like one file in master, and he's like, I'm going to just build it in the login. He's going to check out his own branch called Taylor or whatever he would like, And then he's working in parallel to master so that he's not touching master. When he's finished with it and he says, okay, I'm good with this, I want to merge it inside, he's going to make what's called a
pull request?
A pull request. A pull request is basically a request to pull in the changes that you've made on your branch into the master branch. Let's say that Taylor makes a pull request and he says, like, all of my changes that I've branched off over here and all of my changes are good. Like, I want you to review it. And at that time, somebody will vet like his code and basically say, is this good? Is this adhering to all of my standards? And then if everything is good, we're going to merge his changes right here. And then master no longer is at this point for everyone, but it's actually now over here. So this is like the new master.
But what if John had already started like same time I did?
Great. Let's say John doesn't start at the same time that you do, right? Let's say that John onboards a week later, and a week later, like maybe let's say John starts right here. So I have another branch running in parallel. This is John, and then John is working on credit cards. At a certain point, let's say John says, I want to merge right here. Like I'm working. He can't merge it in until he's pulled in your stuff, because like at this point, these two masters were the same. There was nothing merged in.
Yeah.
But at this point in particular, like Taylor's changes are merged in and John's master, like where he started, is over here. So you can kind of see these two are out of date. That's when you have to start pulling in changes. So at this point, John first has to pull in master. So he's up to date with Taylor's branch, which is the new master. And then at another point, he's going to say, like, I have finished my credit card request and I want to push it inside of master. This may not make a ton of sense right now.
Is that when you get the notification that says you're 4 commits ahead of master or something like that? Is that basically the illustration of it, what you just did?
Yeah, basically. So it's let's say John has credit cards or something. All right, let's put Deja in here. Deja's working on, what do you want to work on? Okay, I guess there's a linear search in chase.com. Okay, so she's working on linear search. What was your question one more time?
So you occasionally see like there's 4 commits ahead of master or something like that.
Let's say Deja starts right here. So all 3 of them have started more or less with the same master at a certain point. And she makes 4 commits. She makes a commit here, 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 and here. At this point, basically what happens is if she branched off here and she's made 4 commits, you can kind of see that she's 4 commits ahead of master. And if she wants to move all of her stuff in order to make a pull request, she has to merge those 4 commits in.
You mean add, push.
Add her 4 commits into the code
Add,
base.
commit, push.
Wait, so when you pull, it just gives you the other files. It doesn't overwrite your stuff.
It could overwrite all your stuff.
So
That's the what is that called?
Getting screwed.
Getting screwed. What else?
okay.
So so it's kind of like if John works on files 1, 2, 3 and you work on 4, 5, 6. If you pull down, you're just pulling in 1, 2, 3. It's not messing with your
So
stuff.
as long as we're working on different stuff, it's fine. But if John was working on logging as well, and he made a mistake and pulled Taylor's stuff, and Taylor worked on file whatever, it would overwrite his stuff.
Yeah. So let's say John works on 1, 2, 3. Taylor works on 3, 4, 5. If whoever gets in first is going to screw over the next person, that's called a merge conflict. Merge conflicts are basically John edits a specific line, Taylor edits a specific line and pulls it in, but that conflicts because John's line 15 is not what Taylor wants for line 15.
Now, will GitHub allow us with the version control, all that stuff to be like, okay, hold on, let's go back and let's take 3 from John instead from me?
You have to make that call for yourself. It won't automatically do it because it's the agreement at, let's say John alters line 3, alters file number 3 at line 15, right? And that gets merged into master. That's the new point of truth. Like his stuff at line 15 is what is correct. when you try to update line 15 and push it in and overwrite his stuff, then they're going to be like, it's on you to fix it. It's on you to say like what is more important, and then we'll take that as the new master.
Okay, but that file, whatever the line 3 or the file 3, whatever, that's going to be either on my Git or on his Git, so it's not like we lost the code somewhere.
You didn't lose the code. Yeah, that's the good part about Git. Is as long as you commit a lot early and often is the saying, then you won't lose anything. You can always go back to it.
Yeah.
So nothing on Git is like fully lost. That's the good part about it.
Yeah.
But if you lose an employee, then you lose the Git.
No, it's still there. It's still in your code base. You may not know what's going on at that point in time anymore, but overall the code is still there. It's not tied to that user.
Well, wait, you wouldn't have the Git, but you would have the pull requests, right? Or you would have the
Because you only have the final one. Like, what if somebody commits like 5 times? You have no idea what gets roomed.
Yeah.
Like, as a company, you don't know what they've committed on their own.
I only know what's been pushed up to GitHub.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so if you commit it, that's on your local machine, but when you push it, then GitHub knows what it is. So you kind of think of it this way. Like when I worked for my last company, I pushed in 400 pull requests, right? Each one of those probably had an average of 10 to 15 commits. That's like 4,000 commits that I've made. They can take a look at all of my work at any specific snapshot and know what I did. Cool. All right, let's get to more practical things. Again, this will not make a lot of sense for a little while. Do you have something?
Also a little bit more basic than that. So when we fork and clone, that doesn't imply you created a branch.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
So to do that, there's a git branch command.
Yeah, we're gonna go over there right now.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so let's take a look. So the first thing we always want to know is where am I pointing to? And I'm going to do git remote -b. So I have this origin, and origin is just an arbitrary name. Most people go with origin because it's easy, but you can just as easily call this poop. You can call this, whatever you'd like. I know that I'm pointing towards jyoung217, so I can work on this master if I'd prefer, if I'd like to work on master. But what I want to see some people start to do is create disposable branches so that I'm not messing with master unless I really want to. So how do I create a new branch?
Get branch name
Get branch name.
or whatever.
Or
you name.
rename, right?
Nope.
Oh wait, get branches in the name.
I want to create a new branch.
Get branch.
Yeah, just get branch and whatever you want to name it.
Git branch. Let's say it's John's branch. It's not doing anything.
Git branch brackets. Branch name, right?
I thought it was like 10.
Really?
You gotta check out.
That's how. Oh, check out.
And then what? Nope. It's gonna be checkout -b.
Okay, that's what it's
So the git remote -b, that's not the same as PWD, right?
No. Remember, we have 3 things that we like. 2 language. You're gonna learn React, JavaScript here. You're gonna learn JavaScript. You're gonna learn Ruby and Ruby on Rails and SQL and HTML and stuff like that. You may not use any of those languages, but as long as you're working as long as you're a developer, you're going to need to learn Unix commands. That's like the cd, ls, pwd, and then you're going to need to know all of the git commands. And the way that you can know it's a git command is you type git first. So if it says git in the front, then you know that's specifically a git command.
Makes sense. But functionally, they're doing the same thing.
They're not. One is specific to Git, like all the Git software, and one is just specific to Linux. This is just to get around, more or less. So when I like cd into the desktop, I'm changing the directory, but I'm not doing anything with Git. If I list everything on my desktop,
Yeah,
I'm
that's okay. That's more to it. Thank you.
Okay. So we cloned the master into our own file in GitHub, and then we've taken that. We forked that into our own file, and then we cloned it down to our machine.
Yep.
And we have the master. We have, I don't know, it's called master origin in our machine right now. Why do we need to create another branch? It's already in our machine.
So some places are going to have, okay.
Like we're not,
I generally do not like people working on the master branch in any form, unless it's like just your project, and if you blow it up, that's fine, that's your stuff. But you should generally be branching pretty often, pretty much for anything. So the issue that I found yesterday was I already opened up a pull request with JavaScript. Now I want to open up another pull request with Ruby, and it's not opening a new pull request. It's because it's on the same branch. So we want to create new branches for every single thing. So it's kind of like if I assign Alex this week, I want you to work on login, credit card, and the About Us page. Then he's going to create 3 separate branches, one for each individual thing. It's just like a different sandbox to work with. Just a new place to like clear your head and be like, this is where I'm going to be working on just the login. Let's go back. Let's go back. Let's go to another branch. I'm just going to be working on the credit card payment at this point. So the way that I check out a new branch, which is kind of like if this is master, I have like Taylor, I have David and John here.
Just a little clarification about the branches. I mean, there really is almost no difference, seems, than cloning it. I mean, basically that could be Taylor's login, could be a branch, it could be a master.
Yes.
When you pull back in, you're pulling the entire code back in with you.
Yep.
What are there any other features with branch besides the pull request that make it important to use?
So branching just allows you to work outside of master.
Because forking and cloning is just giving you the master.
Forking and cloning is just giving you the forking and cloning is just downloading. So forking is bringing all the code from where it exists right now into your like username / whatever the repository name is. Cloning downloads it into your local machine.
I guess what I'm asking is, why can't we just branch the portion of the program we only want to work on, and then when we submit our pull request, only that? Like what if somebody does a branch and they edit some part that they're not supposed to? And is there a way to like make a branch that's only that one module?
Yes. Can you give me a more specific example?
When we did this branch over here, we're still branching with the JavaScript and the Ruby parts.
Mm-hmm.
We're just submitting a pull request that says, Ruby completed. But is there a way to make a branch that will be like force you never to touch anything else besides?
That one's mostly on you. You can check out that branch and just do that specific piece of work. Let's
Talking about features.
Yeah, like why is branch besides pull request? It just seems like it's like an organizational thing.
It's an organizational thing, yeah. I don't want 50 people working on master and pushing straight to master, because then everyone else gets screwed. I want you to work on your specific thing until it's finished, and then open a pull request. And if that's good to be merged into master, then all master will reflect your stuff, the original stuff plus your added changes. Okay, so when I check out a new branch, the command for it is going to be git checkout -b. -b is that I want to check out a new branch. And then the argument that comes after is the name of the branch. So if you take a real close look, watch this master change from master in John's.
We created it, right?
No, it's
John's branch.
No, git branch John's branch is not a thing. It's because I've done this like 50 times.
So it says on our cheat sheet.
Git branch is for something that already exists.
Oh, okay.
It's because I've done this like 40 times already. So let's just call this John's branch branch -2. You can kind of see that before it said master, and now I'm working on this branch called John's branch 2. Now I'm going to open up everything in Sublime and just make a small change to the JavaScript, just JavaScript stuff. So give me credit. I finished the work.
In this, okay, so this branch of linear search has both Java and Ruby in it. Okay.
No, this is just a clone. I cloned it down, and it has a JavaScript and a Ruby folder in it. Yeah. But I'm only modifying the JavaScript stuff. Okay. All right, now let's say I finished the work, and I want to push it up to GitHub for Kara to review.
push the entire thing?
Yes.
Okay.
So let's run. What's the first thing we should always run? It's
Status.
Git remote -v is always a good thing to know. Like, where am I pushing this to? So git status is the next one. Like, what happened? This gives me a snapshot, like a 50,000 view of like, has anything changed? And let's kind of go through this. So it says what branch you're on. It says that I've modified this already existing file. And if I'm good to go, it's kind of like I'm ready to put stuff inside of the letter. Like, we're preparing a letter. So the next thing I'm going to do is git add. And then you can do git add space dot if you'd like, because there's only one file and it's easier to type. As you start working with more things, you might want to be more specific, because if you're changing 10 files and you only want to commit 3 of them, and you do git add dot, you just committed 7 extra files. So as of right now, I'm just going to kind of demonstrate. I just want to add the things that I know. Okay. So I'm adding it to the staging area, meaning like I'm putting it inside of the envelope. Like let's say you're at, did you all have like care packages that your families could send you? Right. Did they have to like go through a vendor, or could they pack their own boxes? They could pack their own boxes. Okay. So they have this box, and they're like, basically what they're going to be doing right now is they're basically adding things, and they could be removing things like, oh, Taylor likes, what's your favorite chips?
Doritos.
Doritos. Okay. Taylor likes Doritos, and then an aunt comes over. I want to give Taylor these Lay's chips, and Lay's chips are terrible. And then so later on, you can like add and remove things as necessary. And that's what we're doing right now. We're just kind of adding and removing things from the box as necessary. At the point where they're like, okay, I can't fit any more stuff in this box, Taylor's going to be happy. I close the box and I put the tape over it. At that point, that's called the git commit. I'm putting my stamp of approval on it. I can't do anything else. So I do git commit, and then -m allows me to add a little message on it. You can do single or double quotes. You can put a space or not a space. I'm lazy, so I don't put a space. I put change the JavaScript file. You can write whatever you'd like here. Make your commit messages as descriptive as possible. The more descriptive they are, like the better off you'll be. And when people are looking at your GitHub and your contributions, they're looking for good commit messages. So be very descriptive of what did I do here, not just add stuff like you'll see 1,000 times with me. Like I just did add stuff or added things. Like that's not descriptive. I don't know what I really did at that point.
So, I mean, you think with programming, it's all about like shortcuts, and I just don't understand why there's a step for add and why is there a step for commit. When would you add something and not commit?
It's kind of like the idea of if you did both at once, you would add everything and commit it right away.
Yeah.
It's kind of like if you went with like one of the vendors to like just give like, here's a box of stuff, like just pay me money and I will give them a box of stuff. They might not like any of the things that are in there, but it's just a box of stuff. Whereas when you are adding and committing on your own, you are basically saying, I'm going to only give the things that they're going to find valuable. It's customization versus like shortcuts. That kind of makes sense?
I'm just going to have to accept it.
Yeah, that's one of those things you just kind of have to accept, unfortunately. Yeah. So I commit it. If I do git status again, you can kind of see that like it's no longer like modified and like unadded. I've added it, I've committed it, I've sealed the box, so to speak, and now I'm going to give it off to UPS to ship over. So at this point, how do I push? Git push.
No, yeah, just git push.
You could just do git push. That is like the newest thing. If you want to be more specific, so it's going to make an assumption. But when I do git push here, it's making an assumption I'm pushing to origin at this branch. It's making that assumption for me. I think it'll work. It doesn't work for me. Ooh, okay. So I git push, and then I have the option here to specify where I'm pushing to. Again, I can push to origin. I can push to upstream. I'm going to push to origin here. Origin being github.com/jyoung/linear search. And then I'm going to add the branch name, John's branch 2.
So origin is the alias. And
Yeah,
John's
origin is an alias for this. I could also, instead of doing origin, I could just copy and paste this in there. I'm pretty sure that would work. I've never done it, but. All right, so I've pushed this up to John's branch number 2. And if I look here, oh, I see that your recently pushed branches, John's branch number 2, I can create a pull request at this point. I'm going to, you should fill this out as much as possible just to get in this habit of like writing good messages, but I'm just going to ignore it for the sake of time. And you can see I've opened up a pull request. I've opened it up from my forked repository at this branch. And I'm trying to push it into Delta Platoon's master. Now I'm able to see like, oh, okay, I have John's changes. This is like he's only changed one file. So that's the only one that shows up here. And then this is the things that he's removed. This is the things that he's added. We're gonna do one more thing with Git, and then we will take a quick break. All right. At this point, I want to work on just the Ruby stuff. Like I've worked on the JavaScript. I want to work on the Ruby. I want to create a new branch just to. I just want to create a new branch at this point. So how do I create a new branch?
Do you want to move to your master branch first?
I probably want to do that. Why would I want to do that, John?
Because otherwise it'll branch off of John's branch too.
Yeah. So
What's the ramification of that? So what?
what's that?
Like, what's that? What does that mean? What does
Let's do it. Yeah, let's take a look. So I'm here on John's branch 2. I'm going to branch off one more time. If I do git, what was the command to check out a new branch?
Check out.
Check out.
Okay. Let's call this dummy branch. And let's go over here. I go inside the Ruby. I write a little message for give me credit. And I save it. Again, I'm going to run through this again. Git status. This is red. This is something that I've changed, but I haven't added to I haven't put it inside the box yet. How do I add this into the box? Keep going.
Name of the file.
Ruby linear search.rb. If I run git status again, this is going to turn from red into green, basically saying, okay, now you've put this inside the box, and this is in your quote unquote staging area before you put the tape on the box. How do I put tape on the box? Modify the Ruby file with a comment. All right, now if I do git push origin dummy branch, the ramifications that come as a result, I'll show you right now. One more. If I open this pull request, create pull request here. I changed one file, but I actually have the other stuff in there as well. That's the ramifications of it. So I thought I checked out a brand new branch. It was clean, but I branched off of a branch. So when you branch off of a branch, you're bringing all the original stuff in as well. That's the ramifications of it. If I wanted to do it clean, if I just wanted to have the Ruby stuff on there, I'd have to check out to master first and then check out a new branch from there. So I had to go in. Basically, it's kind of like if I had another branch over here, let's say I'm at Deja branches off and then somebody branches off Deja. They also have all of Deja's changes rather than starting over again.
The branch also eliminates the need for pulling or fetching before you push, because you have a branch off of your, or you have pulled down originally, or you had or forked originally.
Let me make a change real quick. Let's actually see that in real life. Git is going to take a little bit of time to understand. So I'm going to update something in the README on just jyoung, so you don't have to worry about this yet. All right, so we're gonna go back. We're gonna go back to master because we kind of see the ramifications of branching off a branch. So I know I have to get back to master and then check out a new branch to basically start over and just start fresh with this Ruby.
So based on your example of you going from the login master to the credit card master, is that accurate?
No, let's say I'm Taylor. I'm working on login, right? I'm finished with login. I just want to work on, let's say it's Taylor for credit cards. I need to go into master again and then check out a new branch for credit cards. So I'm no longer working on any of the stuff that I'm not checking out all the stuff that I worked on with login. I'm working on all the stuff fresh from master to work on credit cards.
So you create a whole new folder on your computer.
Not a new folder. Git takes care of a lot of this for you. I don't need to clone or do anything. It's actually pretty slick. Here, I'll show you for a second. Let's. So you see that as of right now, I have linear search Ruby and linear search JavaScript, and I added 2 comments on this particular branch. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to check out from dummy branch back into master. So how do I change branches? Yeah, so git checkout. When I do -b, it's a new one. When I don't do -b, it's an already existing one. And I can see all the branches I have right now just by doing git branch. You can kind of see I have 4 branches: master, John's branch 2, and dummy branch. So I'm currently on dummy branch because that's the one that's highlighted with green. I can check out to master by doing git checkout master. No -b because it already exists. All right, so it says I'm up to date with Origin master. And if I jump back over here, you'll see that those 2 comments that I had are gone. I don't need to clone anything. Git takes care of all of that for me, which is pretty cool. Like I don't have to open new files or anything. It just says like, okay, those changes are gone. This reflects what master is right now. From here, I can check out to another branch and just change the Ruby file using that same process. But if you remember, I added this nonsensical text inside of master. Like this reflects like somebody modified something else ahead of time. How do I pull those changes down? Because that's the new master, and my master is out of date. You can take a look inside of my README. I don't have that nonsensical text here. I need to pull that in. So using that git cheat sheet, what is the command for me to pull stuff from a certain place? Git pull what? What was it, Alex? Yep. So git pull origin master is the same thing as git push origin, not the same thing. Git push and pull will basically be 2 different actions, but the following 2 arguments is like which website are you pulling it from, and then what branch are you pulling from. So in my case, I'm going to be git pull origin master. And then something happens here. It says that I'm actually updating from where you're at locally into the most recent one. I've changed the README file, I've added one thing, and I've deleted one thing. And if I jump back over here, you'll see that I have that nonsensical text pulled in from the internet.
What did you delete?
I deleted the blank line, and I added this line.
Can you do a revert to the old master on your local machine?
I can, but I don't want to go over that right now. Essentially what happens is, since if I take a look at a log of everything, I can actually just revert back to here and then ignore this. When you inevitably push to master on Delta Platoon, which will happen because it happens to everyone, including James did like 10 times. James did like 10 times. I can revert back to the old one by saying like, okay, here's James's commit. I'm just going to go back to what it was, and I can revert it back. That's the power of Git.
Okay, that last step that you just had, so you committed it, it's up there, and then when so pull request is, what you just did is the same thing as going into GitHub, pressing pull request. And then, okay, what is that last step?
The last thing is, let's say, there's no good analogy for it. So somebody on your team opens a pull request and it gets merged into master. Like they update the About Us page to you're a brand new developer, and they updated the About Us page to include your face in your bio. Master now reflects that. So your master is out of date. Like when you started, your face and bio wasn't on the website. You need to pull those changes in. Like you need to download those changes into your machine to reflect the most recent master.
Okay, so
that's just pulling in all the new changes. Exactly. And then a pull request is your new changes against master.
Pull and pull request, those are the two, like pull request, two different things.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Cool. Are we feeling more confused about Git?
It was the branch was the main thing I didn't get.
Cool.
So that was,
it's a repetition thing for me. So
yeah, this is 100% a repetition thing. James, do you have anything to say about Git? You should have seen James's eyes on the first day. He was just.
But it's pretty much just working through it. And as you work through it, you'll get better.
Yeah.
So I guess it would be more like muscle memory, and then when you learn how to Git, push everything, commit and all that, you pretty much need to learn the others. So we pretty much had a very in-depth class about this, like 2 of them.
Yeah, he's coming back for both those.
So much to learn about this. I try to get as much as you can.
There's a gentleman coming in named Chris Walquist. He works for DRW Trading. He may be one of your mentors. No? Chris Walquist? No? Okay. But yeah, he will come in for a 2-day workshop on Git. Like, it's extremely complicated, but it's just like good head knowledge to have. You may not use it on a very practical basis, but it helps solidify things a little bit more. You will work on this today with your pair on practice with a pair. We're going to go through all of you're going to have 2 people. You're going to one person's going to commit, one person's going to push, one person's, so it'll be fun. It'll be a disaster, but it'll be fun. We're here to help you. All right, I'm going to stop the recording here, and we'll take a break until about 10:15 at the latest, and then we'll get started with the next little portion.